Howdy folks, it's One of a Nine here from One of a Nine TV and World of Tanks Tips and Tricks.com, and today I am bringing you my map guide to Sand River. So first things first, let's do what we always do and name the different areas of the map. Right up top here, you have got the hill. Then down in the middle, this whole section here, I'm going to call the dip. You can call it the trench, the valley, whatever, but the dip is what I'm going to call it for this video. And then down in the south, you've got what I'm going to call the dunes. I'm kind of calling all of this area here as part of the hill, just for ease of clarification, because this and this would both be dunes. So, what are the different fight areas on this map? So right here, I've got all the different areas that you could fight in without being suicidal, because going right here, at least early game, until the game develops until to the point where you can go there, going into the middle here is pretty suicidal. Even going into the village down in the south is pretty suicidal. So basically, the three main areas that you fight over are the dunes in the south, the hill in the north, and the dip. All the supporting positions are color-coded, so this area here can support up to here if the enemy team pushes through, as well as this area here can support here and here if the enemy team pushes through. These areas here and here support the dip, as well as this area here. And basically, your positions for the TDs are back here and here on this, because this is just kind of one really long corridor fight in the south. So definitely requires a bit of patience. So this thing up here in the north, it's best for your holddowns, but there's also some cheeky positions, specifically right here, which you can use to shoot down to this area here and basically be entirely hold down. And if you have good turret armor and little few weak points, you're basically impenetrable. You're also already safe for the most part there. You can also sit here and shoot across, but here you are not already safe if the arty is in the north over here. This area. You can't push through here, but if you're here and the enemy team tries to push this way, you can also shoot down this way. Now from the north, from the west, I should say, you want to push through and you want to get somebody, if you can, there before they get somebody here. That way it shuts down all their tanks in this area here, and then everybody here can support and push through. The biggest problem with this side of the map is the pushing through, which is why you want to take one of these aggressive positions early on if you are able to. Obviously, don't try to put a mouse in one of those spots because you're not going to get there in time. You're just going to get shredded. Another thing you can do is you can play this ridgeline here and here. You can shoot across. Or if they're solid here and they've got a lot of tanks back here, you can flank around up this mid road if they are not solid down here as well. If you do that and they are solid here, you will just simply get caught in a crossfire, and nobody wants to be caught in a crossfire. Conversely, if the enemy team is very strong here, but not very strong here, and you have control of here and this position here, you can send some tanks around this way. And if you stay in the low ground, you can't be shot from the TDs there, but you can catch these guys here in a crossfire so long as these guys move up at about the same time, or keep pressure on them so they can't just back down the hill. Alright, now onto the dip. So basically you've got pretty much a really long corridor fight, which is great for your heavy tanks. One thing you can do is you can drive up this little hill right here. Be careful, because you can get shot from tanks that are down in the dunes if you go too far up. But you can use that position to get advantageous shots on either the guys who are below you here or here, or the people who are down here and down here. It's pretty much a straight corridor fight. There's not much to say about it. You've got a couple positions like here, here, and here, which can support it. but there's not much else to do, and it's pretty much just a straight corridor fight, as I've said. Kind of the same with the dunes, like you are a little bit more exposed, so you can get shot by tanks here, or here, or here, if you are in the dunes. But it is an important side of the map to have at least some presence there. I wouldn't recommend sending all your tanks down here unless your team agrees that they're going to push and they are not going to stop. Other than that, there's not too much else to say. Basically, Sand River is a big one where you gotta get a feel for how the game's going. You gotta react to where the enemy's coming from because it is easy to stop a push, but if you don't stop it early enough, it becomes almost impossible. Like if you see the enemy's broken through in the north, you need to be here to be able to stop them from being able to just push down. If you're not here right away, and if you're here, well, now they've got good positions, and you've got good positions. It's just like here. If they get to here, they've got good positions, and kind of vice versa works for all the sides of the map. If they push through the middle, they're good hold down positions here. They can start lighting up all your TDs, or vice versa. So basically, you got to make sure you react early enough on this map. And don't use the suicidal open bits of the map like these because you will get spotted. There is zero cover. Now, let's get into talking about where each different class of tank should go. So your super heavies are the first one I'm going to discuss, and yeah, it's pretty straightforward. You go into the dip. There's not really anywhere else to bring the super heavies here because you are super exposed if you're in the south, and they simply aren't fast enough to keep up with the fight in the north, so your best bet is to try and hold the middle or break through the middle if the enemy team is light there. Now, your fast heavies and your hold down heavies, you can use them in either the dunes or the hill. Fast heavies are especially good at taking these positions. Obviously, like I said, you want to make sure that you're going for the one opposite. So if you're on this cap, you want to go here. If you're on this cap, you want to go here. Basically, those fast heavies, your 277s, your 5As, or similar tanks, they are great for taking those positions. Your hold down heavies can take this spot here, that spot there. They can sit at the back there, or they can sit here. There are several good spots in the north to go hold down. And same, there's a bunch of ridge lines here, 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 that you can use in the south if you're playing the dunes. Now, if you want to be a little bit aggressive as a fast heavy, you can take this spot here. It is risky, so you better hope that it's a calculated risk, that you get the numbers right, that you don't just go there and instantly die. You want to make sure if you're taking that, you can comfortably take it. For example, you're tier 10 in a tier 8 game. You know you can just bully the other tier 8 heavies. At that point, you can consider taking that position there as a fast or a hold down heavy. You just also got to be wary of tanks sitting in the south or in the north getting shots into your side. Alright, so I'm calling this the brawling mediums, so your 140s, your 430Us. And similar tanks, your T-44s, your T-34s, things like that. You can take positions here, here. You can be aggressive and try and take the spots in the middle. But your brawling mediums, they're meant to break through, get around the flanks. They're meant to brawl. I mean, seems pretty obvious in the name. But you don't want to sit and snipe in a 430. You aren't playing your tank to your best advantage. So make sure you are being aggressive and trying to force the enemy team into making a mistake. And that is why I'm saying you should be aggressive and take the forward positions. Like you can take this spot here, here, here. Make the enemy team do something. Or you can be aggressive down the south. That is a very valid option in your brawling heavy tanks. Medium tanks, sorry. Your sniper mediums, you can play them a bit more like a TD. You can sit in the back here, 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 or here. But again, make sure to move up to where you are needed. So if your team breaks through in the south, don't sit here. Move up to here or here to get shots. And vice versa, if they break through this way, move up to here, get shots on the tanks that are back here. That is how you make yourself even more effective as, your Leopard 1s or similar tanks. And again, your sniping tank destroyers, it's kind of a lot of the same story. There's not much difference. Most of the time, your sniping tank destroyers don't have a lot of armor, so you don't want to get seen. You need to sit far enough back on this map because there is not a lot of bush cover. The only areas with decent bush cover are here and here, so make sure you're just sitting far enough back near the max view range line, but still, of course, in a position where you can get shots onto the enemy team and push up if your team pushes up, and fall back if your team is getting defeated. Alright, now your assault gun TDs. So your T110E3s, your Object 268 version 4s, etc. Those big, heavy, chunky tanks that have lots of frontal armor, but only have a front-mounted gun. Playing the dip here is probably your best bet. If you have good accuracy, you can get away with sniping, or if your armor isn't really good enough to actually fight toe-to-toe in a close quarters like that, you can get away with sniping on this map. I wouldn't recommend it, but it is definitely something worth considering. Now, on maps like Sand River, your light tanks are extremely important. The first positions I'd consider taking is this one here. There's a bunch of bushes and stuff and rocks that you can hide behind if you get spotted, and most light tanks are small enough that if they get spotted and hide behind the rocks, they will not be seen, and they will eventually go unspotted. Or you can go up to here, and you can spot all the tanks that are either heading up there or heading up there. That is extremely important information for your team to know. And lastly, if your team has 3 light tanks, you can consider playing down on the south, but again, I'd recommend doing that last. Focus on getting to one of these 2 positions first, and then if you have surplus light tanks, get to this position. Or, for example, after you've scouted this position and your team has taken the good spots, your scouting isn't going to do much, so you can come back down and check. Or the other way around, and that works out great. And finally, last but not least, we have our SPGs. Pretty simple. Find a good dip, hide in there. It's pretty basic stuff. Those are some good spots here and here for SPGs, as well as like back in this area or back in this area. It's not much to say about an SPG, just make sure you can get shots on where your team needs you to. Alright, anyways folks, that's it for today. Hope you all enjoyed. Thanks, and goodbye.